Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Talking Football podcast. I'm absolutely delighted to say we're joined on the line this week, all the way from the good old US of A, with a Grimsby Town legend, the one and only Bobby Cumming. Bob, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks, Derek.
It's great to have you on, Bob. Before we begin, of course, you're over in the United States at the moment. Of course, coronavirus affecting everyone just now. In terms of you and your family, you keeping okay?
Yeah, we're corona free at the moment. Yeah, well, obviously I'm old enough to get the shots, so I've got that done, and yeah, we're staying pretty free. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Excellent. Well, let's look at the career, Bob. A fantastic career in the game. You were born all the way back in 1955 in Airdrie, no less, just up the road from where I'm from in Hamilton. What was life like growing up back then?
I mean, it was great. You know, there was no fears of going outside like there is now for kids. Yeah, we did it all. Boys Brigade, joined them, played football on the weekends. It was great.
Yeah, absolutely. And did you have any role models at any team that you followed back then?
Oh, of course. I mean, back then, we used to go watch Airdrie, but, supported the Rangers.
Lovely.
Teams down in England as I got older, 12, 13, 14, it would be Leeds United.
Yeah, fantastic.
Back in the day.
Yeah. What did you make of the old Broomfield? Did you... that was
the old Broomfield was great. If I remember correctly, I don't remember the competition they were in, but it included English teams as well.
Yeah.
So we'd got some English teams coming up, Nottingham Forest, and them playing in some cup competition. Yeah. Anglo something, I think it was.
Yeah, Anglo-Scottish Cup, I think it was, yeah.
Right, something like that.
Yeah. Did you go and watch Rangers then when you were growing up, Bob?
Not a lot, because I was always playing.
Yeah.
So, obviously you played for the school, and then you played in the afternoon for a local amateur team or something like that. So the odd occasion when we didn't have a game, I'd go and watch them.
Yeah. So this thing when you went down to Leeds United, what did they do? Send a scout up to go and have a look at you?
Yeah, when I went down to Grimsby Town, I wish I was at Leeds United, but no. I played with, I was signed schoolboy forms with Albion Rovers at the time. Now, when you turn or coming up to turn 16, they have to make you an offer. So they farmed me out to Baylis and Juniors. So I was 15 and a half playing in Baylis and Juniors, which is, as you know, older pros, ex-pros, that type of thing. And Laurie McMenemy, the manager at Grimsby Town at the time, had a scout up in the Glasgow area. So he scouted me and got invited down for trials.
Yeah. See, Baylis and Juniors, I mean, see, as a 15-year-old, that must have toughened you up a little bit there playing the juniors.
Yeah, really. That's when you came up against all the tricks and definitely.
Albion Rovers and Clifton Hill and all that. What was that like as a young player going there?
It was great. I mean, we had a U16 team representing Albion Rovers. So we used to go down, or I used to go down once on a Thursday. If I was free on a Tuesday, I'd go down too. So obviously part-time players. So that's when they trained. So we were invited to go down to training too. Yeah. So you joined in with the professional players. It was really good.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was a guy named Bobby Flavo was the manager. So I was in the same school as his son. So we had it off like.
Yeah, perfect. I was reading up about Bobby Flavo. He's some character. He played by in Colombia with Alfredo Di Stefano and all that, didn't he?
Yeah, but he was a hell of. Didn't he play with Rangers too? He was a hell of a player, I heard.
Yeah, maybe I'll have done. Yeah, he went and coached all over the place. Right. Yeah, great guy. Must have been great to learn from. So, so you're at Albion Rovers, and then, like you say, Laurie McMenemy at the time invites you down for a trial. Did you know where Grimsby was at that time, Bob?
No, not at all. I actually went the place I worked at the time down in Coat Dyke, Baines it was called. I was an apprentice at the time. One of our teachers ran a team from the local YMCA down in Coatbridge, and they were going down to Newcastle to spend the weekend. and play a few games down there. So I actually went with them, played a couple of games, and then caught the train from Newcastle to Grimsby. Spent 2 weeks down there, training with them every day, played 3 intermediate games, as they were called, U18 teams. Scored twice, which was great.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So, yeah, that was it.
Yeah, I get a lot of players that move down south, and some of them get homesick and all that, Bob, and they come back up the road. But did you sort of enjoy it at the moment you stepped down there?
I mean, it was great. I knew what I was going into. Obviously, I was spending 2 weeks on trial, but when I did leave home, I mean, you know what it's like. First couple of weeks, you're okay, but then you start missing your mates and all that stuff. Your family, of course, but you know, you spent a lot of time with your mates as well. I found it rough the very first 6 months or so.
Yeah.
I was invited up to Glasgow for some trials with the U18 Scottish team.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go back down after that, but my mother kicked me out. So you made your bed, so lie in it. So I had to go back down.
Yeah, I was going to say that your parents today, did they quite supportive of you just following your football career, or did they want you to get, like you say, a real job a lot of the time?
No. I mean, they were very supportive. I mean, I was one of 7, you know, so it was a big family. You know, as I say, it was tough leaving at first, but, you know, you kind of get used to it. I used to go home every summer, but the older I got, then you go home and you're spending a lot of time with nobody because all your mates are working.
Yeah.
You know, they got up the next day to go to work, so it never lasted very long.
Yeah. And when you went down there, was it Rod Ashman that was in charge at the time? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, Laurie McMenemy came to the house in Scotland, my parents' house, and signed me on. Yeah. And then he went and damn well left and went to Southampton. Yeah. So Ron Ashman was the first manager. Yes.
Yeah. And what was he like as a manager? You played under a lot of different. Was it 7 different managers you played under at Grimsby?
I think it was. Yeah, in the end, something like that, 6 or 7. Yeah. I mean, Ashman was good. You know, the next one that took over, I think, for a period, interim manager was Colin Appleton. I think. Yeah. If I remember right. But yeah, I mean, with Mick Lyons from Everton, he took over managership. But there was quite a few. Yeah,
Grimsby and Cleethorpes down there. I mean, it's a lovely little seaside town down there. Did you enjoy the sights and all that, Bob? Did you manage to enjoy yourself down there?
Yeah. I mean, it was back in that time, them years. I mean, it was pretty popular, especially a lot of people from Yorkshire, obviously. Yeah. You know, train rides away from Doncaster, an hour away. So yeah, a lot of people came. It was a very busy place during the summer.
Yeah, and I mean, when you walked into that dressing room for the first time, did they understand you coming from Airdrie?
Well, I didn't really say a lot, so I was very quiet because obviously it's all older players, like, you know what I'm saying. Being one of the newer guys, but still hang around with the younger guys that were there, the apprentices. There was apprentices, 4 or 5 of them at the time. Yeah.
Were you doing things like you done back in the day, clean the boots in the stands and all that?
I didn't do a lot of that because I was signed professional, so I wasn't an apprenticeship. But I mean, I helped out. So the guy I was rooming with was one of the apprentices. So I used to hang around and help out. Yeah.
And did the senior pros there at the time, Bob, did they sort of help you? Were they hard on you? Did you sort of have to learn the school of hard knocks sort of thing?
Well, kind of, but I got fortunate. The guy I was, you know, his place was left back. Dave Booth, he actually became the manager at one point. So that's who I was competing with. And he did get a bad injury. So that kind of not helped me, but it got me in the team quicker, I guess.
Yeah. And can you remember much about your debut? Am I right in thinking it was against Blackburn that you played?
It was against Blackburn, yes. They beat us 2-1, yep. I remember that vividly, yeah. Very, very tired afterwards. You know, you can play all the, reserve games and come up against good teams and good players, you know what I'm saying? But the sheer pace of the game going into that was, it was.
Yeah, I can imagine. Blundell Park, I love it. I've been there a couple of times covering games. Proper old-fashioned ground. What was it like to play there?
It was great to play there. I mean, we had our ups and our downs,
Yeah.
But the place could be buzzing, depending on how well you were doing at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was something else. Playing there, of course, you mentioned the ups and downs. The ups, of course, the two promotions. What's your memories of them? I think relegated in '77, weren't you? But you came up. Was it runners up or something?
I think we're relegated at the end of '77, '78.
Yeah.
So then the next year in the fourth, it was we came second.
Yeah.
'78, '79. And then we actually came up to the third and then won the third division that very year. So, I mean, it was just unreal. Everything just clicked.
Yeah.
Right players, young players, a couple of signings from outside, but it was tremendous.
Yeah. I think was it George Kerr that was the manager when you won the league? Is that right?
Correct. We had, after Ron Ashman, I think it was a guy called some Irish guy.
I think I've got it down. Where did I put it in?
Can't remember now.
Tommy Casey, is it?
Yeah, Tom Casey. Yeah. Then we went to something like
Johnny Newman. Is it?
Newman.
Yeah.
And his assistant at the time was George Kerr.
Yeah.
And then George took over when John Newman left to take over Derby.
Yeah.
And then Dave Booth became George Kerr's assistant. He'd gone out the game basically, but he took his coaching badges and all that. And then George moved on, and then Dave became manager.
Yeah.
And then it came Mike Lyons and that type of thing.
Yeah. And you were, of course, you're much loved it at Grimsby, Bob. But how much did you enjoy playing in front of the fans, both home and away?
I mean, I enjoyed it very much. I started off my career, I guess, at left back, and then just progressed forward. I guess that was, I don't know if they're just trying to find a place for me or what, but it just how it worked out, So I ended up playing on the left side for the most part, midfield. Yeah.
And you popped up with a few goals as well. You must have had an eye for a goal. Is that something you always try to strive, get forward and get amongst the goals?
Yes, as at school it was outside right, the old-fashioned outside right, that was how I played. But then I couldn't get in the team, so I ended up at left back. Couldn't kick my left foot, so I had to learn. So I mean, that's how it all started. Love to go forward, love it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just how things worked out at the time.
Yeah, and you played with some cracking players there at the time. Paul Hubbard, he was there. How good was he?
Who?
Paul Hubbard, he was there, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, some great players. I think there was Kevin Drinkle.
Yeah,
he went to Norwich and then Glasgow Rangers.
Yeah.
Terry Donovan went to Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Paul Wilkinson went to Everton.
Yeah.
Then we bought Joe Waters. I think he came from Leicester, and he ended up our captain. There was quite a few players went on to be, bigger and better, obviously.
Yeah, Kevin Drinkle, you mentioned, of course, he was coming through at Grimsby at that point, a local lad. And could you notice back then he would go on and do well in his career? Do you think? Yeah,
I mean, he was a hell of a player. He wasn't your typical, 6'2" centre forward type thing. But he was very, very clever player and could score goals. And that was what it was about.
Yeah. Other players, of course, as I mentioned there, we had Phil Bonnyman on a wee while ago, and I said we're going to get you on. He says, make sure he's got my studs out his my left leg and all that. So it's having a laugh. But what was he like as a teammate, Bob?
Phil was great to play with. Obviously being Scottish again, as I said, things just seemed to gel no matter who the player was, even coming in, substituting in. I mean, everything just seemed to gel at the right time. Phil was great to play with. Great.
Yeah. And we touched on Blundell Park, but was there any other grounds you like playing at Bob, or you hated going to? Was there any ones that stand out at all?
I can't say I hated going anywhere, and I only ever played there than once, and that was Anfield. Got absolutely hammered, so didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. But no, loved going to Chelsea because we used to do pretty well there. Newcastle was another place we used to do pretty well.
Yeah.
Sunderland, like going to them big places. Yeah.
And see the pitches back then. Can you see some of the footage, man? And there's some bogs that the players played on compared to now, with like bowling greens. It was crazy. Some of the games wouldn't get played these days. You know what I mean? If you played back,
right? I mean, they wouldn't. You know, and I know sometimes at the beginning of the season, or the last game of the season, we were playing. I can't remember the exact season, but we were playing QPR at home, and we thought we had to win to stay in the division, and they were division champions.
Yeah. So
we started off real nice. I think, I can't remember, 6th of May or the 14th of May, last game of the season. And before we know it, there was a hailstorm. And then it started snowing. And, the pitch was just covered in hailstones and slipping and sliding all over the damn place. But it was something else. But yeah, the pitches back then, you're either the late 70s, you were knee deep in mud in some places. Yeah. It really was. So you had to be fit, really fit.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I mean, you're notorious for being tough in the tackle and all that, Bob, and never shirking away. Is that something that you always had in you, or did you sort of develop that through your career?
I think I developed it a little bit, especially, I was never the biggest or the heaviest or the strongest. And as I say, I ended up as a defender.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, we've come up against an outside right and he's quick, or, wherever. I didn't intentionally start out to kick them, but I thought, well, let me just give them a kick and see what happens. But no, it was, you got to be a little physical. And as I say, I wasn't the biggest or the strongest. So if I went into a tackle, I went in with everything. Yeah. So that's just how it went back then.
Yeah, absolutely. The 79, of course, it's notorious. Was it Boxing Day you played Barnsley? You came up against Norman Hunter. I
thought this might come up.
Well, talk us through that, because that was something else. That when you get sent off at your place.
Yeah, I mean, I think it started the season before, actually, when Alan Clark, another Leeds player, he was a player manager.
Yeah.
And he got injured. Apparently it was me who injured him. I don't recall that. But anyway, so it continued from there. So they signed Norman Hunter, and we were playing at Blundell Park. So I was chasing a ball in their box. He came across to cut it out, and I slid in. Now, I may have took him down. I'm not sure. But I know I got a corner kick. As I'm getting up, I seen the punch coming. So I just rode it and went down. And he got sent off. So the next game was interesting too.
Oakwell, what was that?
At Oakwell, yeah, because I was coming on as sub and he was sub, so he was yelling at me. He said, "I'm coming on in a minute." I said, "You better have your skates on." Yeah, I mean he was one of my heroes.
Yeah,
because he played for Leeds United. So you come up against that sort of thing. It was even Billy Bremner, who's manager of Doncaster Rovers.
Yeah.
Come up against him. I said, never got on with Clark, but that's just how it happens.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Bremner. We had John Phillippen who played for him at Doncaster, and he said he doesn't feel the heat. He jumped into a bath at Brentford, and it was scalding hot because some players jumped in afterwards and they just jumped straight back out. And when it's roasting,
right.
He says, I don't feel the heat.
Wow.
He was something else, Billy Bremner, wasn't he? He was, what a character he was.
He was a great character,
Yeah. Was there any other players that gave you a tough afternoon, Bob, that you recall? Or?
Yeah, I mean, there was a right back. He used to play for Sheffield Wednesday. I can't remember his name now.
Wouldn't it be Mel Sterling? Was it? That'd be a bit later.
That might be him. Yeah. So we used to have some tussles for sure. Yeah. But he wasn't a dirty player or anything like that, and didn't try to, you know, take me out or anything. It was just good physical contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know he liked to get forward. It probably is him. Yeah.
Yeah, it is him. Yeah. So that's what I used to like, you know, give me something to do. And, you know, I'd try and give him something to do. You know, we had some good games against each other. Yeah.
Yeah. See with that, do you think you would enjoy playing the game today, Bob? Do you think you would?
Oh, see, I've been asked this question many times. That I'd be in too much trouble with referees, and I don't understand why. But no, I mean, you have to change with the times, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I think if it's, I probably get in trouble because, as I say, when I went in a tackle, I went in with everything. The intention wasn't to hurt anybody; it was just to come out the other side, not hurt. So.
Yeah, but see what you touched on when you won the league, the third division in 79-80. What was it? What do you think the secret was to the team that year? Was just when you said everything clicked? Was it just one of those ones where everything was going right for you that year?
Yeah, I really do. The players were breaking into the team, and there were a lot of young players. You know, I think there was 5 or 6 came in at the same time. You know, your Drinkles, your Fords, Moores, all them guys. Now, there's another player, Kevin Moore, you know, he died, but he went to Southampton. Great guy. Yeah. And that was the backbone of the team then. Yeah. And we, as I say, we added a couple of players here and there, and things just went from good to better.
Yeah. And of course, you came mightily close that next season to go up again. You just sort of fell away at the end. What sort of went wrong, do you think? Was it 80-81?
What went wrong? I think there were 13 games to go or something like that, and I think we maybe got a couple of points out of all the games, something like that. I don't know. I honestly can't think. I don't know why we didn't win or gain more points than what we did at that period. Yeah. Ball just wouldn't go in. People were off their game, that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, just one of those things, isn't it? Sometimes the teams just run out of steam in it.
Right.
So you mentioned, we said the Anglo-Scottish Cup. I think it got replaced by, was it the League Cup, Group Cup or something? In 80?
It might have been the Group Cup that got replaced by, yeah.
And
there was an Anglo-Scottish Cup or something like that. Airdrie played, and I know that. Because we used to go to the games.
Yeah, because you boys won it, of course, in 82. I think you scored in the final against Wimbledon. Can you remember much about
that? Not really. I remember the goal, but not much about the game. No, you know, the Wimbledon team, obviously. You know, this was prior to them doing what they did.
Oh, the crazy gang stuff.
Yeah, I actually came up against Vinnie Jones when I played with Lincoln, and he was playing non-league, back in non-league again.
Wow.
So he was something else, you know. But people might say he was a dirty player. I'm not saying he didn't put his knocks in there, but still a good player.
Yeah, he's one of those, isn't he? You'd love him on your team if he was in your team, isn't he? And you'd hate him if he wasn't in your team.
Yep.
Just one of those. Of course, you spent so much time. Did you get a testimonial, Bob, when you were there?
I did, yeah. Yeah, I got a testimonial, yeah. It was unfortunate, the weather and that type of thing, and the year it fell on, you know. People turned up, yes, but not what we were hoping or expecting. Yeah. But it was good. Again, contacted Southampton, Laurie McManamy, and he brought a squad up, you know, Mills, all them players, they all came up and they all played, which was great.
Yeah, that's cracking. Excellent stuff. And of course, when the time came when you left the club, were you sad to leave? 87, wasn't it, that you left?
Correct. That was the end of the 86-87 season.
Yeah.
I had arranged to come over to America.
Yeah.
And go out to Seattle and have a trial, basically.
Yeah.
Because Joe Waters was out there at the time.
Uh-huh.
So I was trying to get hooked up with an American club. It didn't work out. So, you know, we came back to England.
Yeah.
Went to sign for Grimsby again, but the offer wasn't the greatest. You know, we just got demoted and all that stuff. So I had a trial up at Darlington. I think Dave Booth and Phil Bonnyman was there at the time.
Yeah.
and went and seen Colin Murphy, who called me at Lincoln City, that was the first year that teams were demoted down to the Conference League.
Yeah.
In Lincoln City, it got demoted down. So he was signing players, and he convinced me to go there. So that's what happened.
Yeah. Before we touch on Lincoln, see when you were at Grimsby, did you have any offers during that time to go anywhere else? Because it's such a long time to spend at one club.
It was, but back then you were never really told.
Yeah.
If someone came in and they said no, he's not for sale or wherever, like you never really knew. So I'm going to say no.
It's a different ballgame back then, wasn't it? No agents and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, very, very few.
Yeah. So the Lincoln move then, I mean, you go there and I mean, you're well thought of there as well. What a side that was, that won promotion into the Football League again. Did you enjoy your year there, Bob?
I did. It was really good. And, as I said, we took Nigel Batch came with us. He was a Grimsby keeper. A young player called Andy Moore, Kevin Moore's younger brother.
Yeah. He
came as well. So the three of us used to ride together every day. Because, we didn't move across there, so it was like an hour's drive each day. Most of the players of the team, they either came from the Manchester area. So everybody was traveling, basically, so an hour's travel. So we never used to start practice till like 10:30, 11. That was the only down thing about it. Colin Murphy, he had to get everybody together to train every day. So it was different.
Yeah. Did you enjoy the dressing room sort of the atmosphere amongst the boys and all that? Do you have was it a good sort of camaraderie going on there? There
was. As I say, we all got to know each other. Training was always tough because he was a big fitness freak, Colin. And that's how it was. I mean, but the teams we played against, you could tell they were out. Hey, we got to beat this lot. Lincoln City, professionals and all this stuff. Because the club stayed professional all the way through, where the rest of them, were part-timers. And the big team back then was Barnet. So we had to-dos with them guys.
Yeah. And of course, that season you were, am I right in thinking you were voted the player of the year as well?
It ended up that way, yes.
Yeah. So it must have been a good season for you in a personal respect, because you were coming maybe at the tail end of your career at that point.
That is correct. Yeah. I was delighted with that. There was a lot of players showed up that year, me being one of them. So I was delighted to catch that title.
Yeah. Of course, it wouldn't be long before you would go to the United States again. Was that something you always sort of harboured ambitions going over there at some point, Bob? Did you always fancy it?
Yeah, at some point, yeah. That summer, I actually went to the States, upstate New York, Albany. Yeah. And they started a team up, so Albany Capitals. So I went and played there, finished the season here, go straight over there, and their season was starting. Because at that time, they only played May through August. Yeah. And then I would come back and start the season again in England. I know, didn't get much of a rest, but the weather over here was great. So. Yeah.
In terms of with the football, when you went over there, did you notice a big difference in terms of the standard and all that?
I mean, you had a lot of indoor players.
Yeah.
Would play outdoor during the summer.
Yeah.
And you also had other players from Scotland, England, all over the world there as well. Like, Paul Martin signed with us.
Yeah.
He played 1 year over there with me, and he was great.
Yeah. I guess it's a different sort of culture over there with regards to the football or the soccer, as they call it, isn't it? I guess it's more relaxed and it's not as much on the line, was it? Well,
I wouldn't say it's more relaxed, not with the players or the teams, kind of with the supporters, because you don't get that, if you're going to play, we're going to play Tampa, hell, we got to fly down there, you're 20-odd hour drive away. So you don't get fans coming, so it's always the opposition fans you're up against.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask that because I have had guys that played in the States on before, and I think Jim McCallig was the last one. He says you're flying all over the place just for like a local derby. You're flying like 4 hours away.
Yeah. And that was, I think our local was, we played a team in New Jersey. So, you know, we're on the coast for 3.5, 4 hours. Yeah. Then you had to play and then you drive back again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something else. It really is. Did you go anywhere else after Albany then, Bob? Did you?
No, I came back to Lincoln each year. I came back to Lincoln, and then the 89-90 season,
yeah,
you know, I was playing for Lincoln, and I caught a bad ankle injury while I was over here playing in AstroTurf. You know, sprained it badly.
Yeah. Got
back fit again, came back to Lincoln, and then got hit again roughly just prior to the Christmas time. Yeah. And I said, that's it. I'm done. That's enough. So I basically left Lincoln at that time. Yeah. Got myself fit again, and had one more summer over in Albany. Yeah. And then that was it. I just retired after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you miss it? Did you miss the playing or the sort of dressing room and the banter and all that? Did you sort of get used to it? Yeah,
for sure. I still miss it to today. You know, it's you know I'm too old now to play, but you know, I even got a team up from my work. You know, an indoor team. You know, and I'm playing goalkeeper at 60 years old. You know, I'm yelling at them, and I try and run for the ball and fall down. You know, it is something else. But yeah, it's great. And I had, you know, I got 2 boys, and they played soccer through their school and that, and I helped do the coaching and stuff. But yeah, missed it terribly. Still do.
Yeah, I was going to say that in terms of the coaching, you've done a wee spot of it there. Do you ever fancy going into like a sort of professional capacity and taking a team?
Well, the last year at Lincoln, I did player coach.
Yeah.
With Murphy, you know, and back then you're thinking, you know, it's 4th division. You know, Colin Murphy went to a game. It seemed like every night of the week.
Yeah. And
I'm not up for that. Yeah. Not up for that. You're not getting home till 10, 11, 12 at night, and then you're back in training the next day. And no, that wasn't for me. Not at that level. It wasn't for me.
Yeah, it's pretty full on, isn't it?
It was. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, fire away.
It's you have to do everything yourself. There, you know. Yeah. Back then, your 4th division club, your 3rd division clubs, there's you as a manager, and there's your trainer and your physio. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't have multiple people behind you backing you up. Hey, go watch this player or go watch that player. Yeah. You had to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty full on, isn't it? I was going to ask you about touching back on Grimsby, of course. Just a couple of weeks ago or whatever, they get relegated to the National League. Do you still keep tabs on them, Bob? And how sad is it to see them get relegated this year?
Oh, it's very sad to see it. I mean, I keep tabs on them by watching the results. You know, you don't see the games, but yeah, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think that hopefully there's going to be a takeover going through it at some point soon. So hopefully that materialises because
it sounds like it, yeah. And I say, yeah, I hope so, yes.
Yeah, and of course the fans were trying to get you back over, weren't they, for a champions dinner? I know it's the coronavirus sort of put the kibosh on that somewhat, but I guess you're hoping to get back over at some point.
Yeah, I mean, when everything lifts, you know, hopefully they'll be able to put the event on. Yeah. And everybody who was invited or was playing back then, obviously will be able to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you keep in touch with the boys you played with back then? Is it you still sort of
keep
in touch with them?
Yeah, it's mainly on Facebook now. Yeah. You know, now I know how to do it. I've only been in there for a couple of years now, so never just stayed away from it before. But yeah, no, you know, I'm not calling players up and stuff like that. It's all through Facebook now.
Yeah. Spot on. And
but
I was going to ask you as well. I mean, you've been in the States now for a good number of years. In terms of the football over there now, have you seen a marked sort of difference in terms of the take-up and growing over there? And of course, they had the World Cup in '94, but have you sort of sensed that it's taken more seriously now?
It is taken more seriously now. You know, obviously there's more people involved. I still don't think they have the setup to compete club level.
Yeah.
If they were to be thrown into, say, the Premier League or the Bundesliga or something like that. It's, you know, you can still be automatically transferred over here, even if you don't want to leave.
Yeah.
You know, you're being traded, boom, you're gone.
Yeah.
I think that still happens, and it's just the system over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the general play has improved over the years, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
You've got multiple, you get multiple American players, you know, in England, and especially in the Bundesliga, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of them doing well. And I was going to ask as well, I mean, at the moment, well, just on Sunday there, the fans at Man United rioted and were on Old Trafford to get the game postponed because of this, they're rioting against the Glazers and the European Super League and all this sort of stuff. What's the reaction been like over in America? Because a lot of these clubs are owned by American owners now, aren't they? Can they sort of see the sense in this European Super League, or are they just sort of...
They don't really think about it much over here, really, because that's their system. You know, even with American football, there's no relegation, you know, that type of thing. So that's why I didn't understand it. I thought they were coming out of the leagues, like the EPL and the Bundesliga or the Spanish league, coming out of them leagues and forming a league of their own. But apparently they still wanted to play in their own leagues and then do this.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like if you lost 3-4 games, what's there to play with? You know, what's to play for?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it might work out in America, but I don't think it wouldn't work in Europe. It's just I don't think
it would.
Yeah, it was universally sort of panned by everybody, I think, quite rightly so.
Yeah, I think once they found, you know, the ins and outs about it. Yeah. I mean, the whole concept Super League sounds great. You know, you go see Real Madrid, you can go see Barcelona play your team.
Yeah.
If there's no, you know, competition type thing, this be like a preseason friendly.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's hopefully it doesn't. Or hopefully, if it does happen at some point, that they sort of plan it better, because they never even told the manager or the players or the fans of it, and they just thought they would just sort of agree with us. Madness.
Yeah, I know.
Looking back to the career then, Bob, was there any player that stands out as the best player that you ever played with?
Played with? You know, there's got to be a few of them. Yeah. You know, as I said, you know, there was a guy called David Boylan when I first went there.
Yeah.
You know, he's only, you know, and he'll have a go at me. He's only 4'2". But, you know, midfield player. I mean, he helped me a lot breaking into the team. Yeah. You know, great guy. Goalkeeper Harry Wayman at the time when I first went down there. So you're talking early 70s.
Yeah.
Obviously, your Joe Waters, your Kevin Drinkles, you know, all them guys. Yeah. There's a guy came from Leicester again, Andy Peake. He was a midfield player. Yeah, there were some good players.
Yeah, and as a player, did you have any? You hear a lot, especially goalkeepers having superstitions and all that. Were you one that had any superstitions before games?
Not that I recall. No.
Yeah, ideal.
I was just happy to be picked and be out there.
And do the business, and you've certainly done that. Well, it's been absolutely sensational having you on, Bobby. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, so thank you.
No problem, Derek. Anytime. I really appreciate it.